Take go.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I've been here. I've been here with.
I just.
I think they're gonna go that long.
I've been one more bar.
Not gonna be 8 or 9 o'clock. They're in the 9:30.
Take bets and predictions. You have to bring the roll bars next time. I have to bring. Here we go. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education, and we're going to begin the evening with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite you all to join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's nice words. And it's all right, good evening. I do not believe we need to make any additions or changes to our agenda, so I'm just looking for a motion to approve our agenda. Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dave. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Approval of consent agenda, which tonight includes the approval of the March 16th, 2026 public forum minutes, approval of the March 17th, 2026 regular minutes, approval of the March 23rd, 2026 public forum minutes, and approval of an A+ school rewards donation to Gildersleeve in the amount of $229.59. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? I'll second. Seconded by Annie. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Audience of citizens. Do we have anyone with us who'd like to address the board at this time? Either in person or online? Oh, all right, there's a second opportunity for public comment at the end of our agenda as well. So we are going to move to the most exciting item on our agenda every month, which is our Portland Public Schools Spotlight. And we are excited to have two spotlights this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Britton to introduce, or am I turning it over to Kate? I'm going to turn it over to Principal Kate Lawson to introduce the Rockfall Foundation.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for having us here this evening. We are excited to share our latest and greatest community partnership. Many of you will remember reviewing our school goals and our school climate plans. We had identified at Portland High School the desire to deepen and strengthen our relationships with all aspects of the community. So this project, and I'm going to turn it quickly over to Tom Bransfield, who is the genesis of the idea, quickly built into a multidisciplinary partnership that we're eager to share with you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm the president of the Brownstone Club. And we are the stewards of the National Historic Landmark Quarries and the Riverfront Park. So make it simplify this. Probably in 2022, we started an effort to start seriously addressing the invasives in the Riverfront Park, and we started clearing a lot of vegetation. And we were lucky enough in 22, 23, and 24 to get support from the Rockfall Foundation for our work. They supported us with funding for native plants to replace what we were removing. But in the process of doing that, we often got a lot of questions from people who in the use of the park, what are you guys doing? You know, why are you clearing all this stuff out? You know, kind of whatever. So when the grant process came around in fall of 24, We didn't really want to ask, we weren't even gonna ask, but then we thought, well, it'd be nice to have some signs or some information so people understood a little bit about what we're trying to do. So we approached Principal Lawson, with the idea of working with Portland High School and, giving them the topic of native and invasive plants and seeing if they could, come up with interpretive signs we could put in the park for people's information and education. And they were thrilled and excited. We applied and we were successfully awarded a grant for, it was for $1,800, and we as an organization will match up to a certain amount, at least 25%, but we'll put it more than that. And what's been nice about the process is, which I didn't really understand how it would work, and I had originally thought, well, we'll get the kids to do the graphics for the signs, and we'll pay for everything else, and that was really how we faced the budget. But the high school took it a couple steps further. And so they've used it in, I don't know, 3 classes. Or more. We got the grant in, I guess, the spring, we were awarded the money in the spring of 25. They immediately started with the biology classes on the concepts for the sign. Which I guess they then did a vote in the classes to pick which ones they wanted to pursue. And then handed it over in the fall to, I think, business class to do the graphics. And recently, we've been working with the metallurgy or metals class, and they're designing and building the frames. So they're not doing just 2 signs, they're gonna be doing 3. So, I did bring up, I can pass these around.
We have
Did you have it?
in the slide.
Oh, in the slides?
Yeah.
Okay. They'll show you those in the slides. So we're kind of excited. And I just got word today that the proofs are on the way. And hopefully, when we have those, we turn it around quickly. And I think in about 4 weeks, we'll have from that point, we'll have the panels. And Tyler and Splatt can finish up. And we'll schedule, hopefully in May, getting them installed in park sometime. So that's.
Perfect. Thank you. So we'd like to kind of just walk you a little bit through the process. And full disclosure, and as you all already know, Portland High School has the most dedicated, talented faculty in the state, if not further. And they've all learned to plaster that fake smile on their face when I say, hey, I've got a really good idea. Want to come to a meeting? And they did. That's wonderful to have them here. And then they embraced it and they ran with it. I'm going to share a little bit about the science piece of it, because both of the teachers that were involved in this part of the process have been on different maternity leaves throughout the process. So I just want to give you a little snapshot of what we envisioned for the kids. And the assignment was really that as part of the community partnership with the Portland Riverfront Restoration Project, funded by the Rockwell Foundation grant, the students will help design 2 to 3 educational signs that will be installed along the trail. These signs will teach visitors about native and invasive species in the area, highlighting their ecological role, and their work will contribute to the restoration education efforts, helping science accessible to the public, especially family and trail users of all ages. So we did a quick field trip down to this park. And Mrs. Hogan and Mrs. Bartoli's classes collaborated to design the content for the sign. They had an excellent tour guide that day. We had wonderful weather, and Mr. Branfield showed them all the parts of the park that they were working on. And then as they compiled their research, identified their priorities, they then turned it over to the marketing department. So I am going to turn it over to Anna Terry, who is our business teacher, and let her share with you her students. She and her students will share their work.
Good evening, how are you tonight?
Good evening.
Nice to see you again. As part of a cross-curricular project, I challenged my business students to take scientific research on local plants and transform it into engaging public-facing displays for our community park. The goal was to move beyond the classroom and create something meaningful, something that communicates clearly, looks professional, and meets real-world expectations. The project grew to 3 signs. Eventually, at first it was just told to be the 2, and it grew to 3. At this point, I'm gonna turn it over to Sierra Markham and Leona Musinski, so they can talk to you about the whole, how did it work out for us? How did it go for them?
So the process for our posters was, it started with a structured design process. We began by reviewing and selecting information from all of the research that we had. And then we planned layouts on Canva and we created drafts. And once we got our final layout, we added all of the information to the Canva to create.
One of the biggest things that we had to do was edit and simplify. To please that, and to make sure all the information was clear, easier to read, and make sense for the different topics that are being talked about.
For our first poster, this poster was for the native species. And this was kind of the blueprint for the layout for all the other posters following. And we kind of just put all the information on there and included a few photos. And then we added information like what a native species is, why they're beneficial, and just kind of information to get the community and everyone who sees the posters informed about what's going on in the activity.
The next one is about invasive species. So we put all the information about how the different invasive species on the other ones, for them to grow. We took information about how we can prevent them from and how we can stop it. With the things that they do.
The last poster that we did was on pollinators, and that included key components about them, what they were, just to again inform people about it. And this was, yeah, this was our last one that we did, and it was, we had to change the layout for the posters to make them look similar. So this poster at first ended up, it was different, and we changed it to this layout so they all look similar, but we kept it all the same information on it, and this is how it.
So what you've seen with the 3 posters, the 3 different designs, multiple students besides Leona and Sierra worked on these. It is very much a class project. And with the changing of the semesters, it got moved and then someone else had to do some editing. So it's like a true working in a business with making edits and making changes and getting another email to please change something else. So they've gone through that process, which is a true work experience. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Richards and he can explain what's going to happen next.
So I'm Mr. Richards. I teach the metals processing classes here. Our metals processing folks are going to be the last leg of this whole adventure. We're getting ready to get started on this project probably by the end of this week, I imagine. We are kind of hold up, but we've been just waiting for that actual one to start initiating this project. Really just getting to that point right now, which is working really well with the timetable at the moment. Up there on the screen, there's some new states that I imagine that the students will hopefully be meeting as we progress through the next few weeks here. We're really going to be focusing on my 2 metals classes, assembling like the 2 sides of the stand. And then we'll look at this once we get the final pieces delivered. Final assembly, do paint that, and then we get them down in the park. As Thomas saying, we can install them park. It's really neat with this project. I just realized that at this moment, some of the students involved in this project are actually involved in it really across multiple departments technically. I just realized, this is Sierra is working, not only work on designing this thing, but will also be working in classes to physically manufacture the projectors. But from what I've seen in the bit that I have showed this to my groups currently, a lot of people are really excited to be involved with it. And it's really cool to see Steve press as well. We don't frequently in the metals class, we don't frequently get to do a pretty well project. And this is a really great way to kind of wrap things up as we move to the second part of this semester.
Are there any questions? Anything else you want to make to the board?
Questions, board members? It's awesome.
And we are always, as you know, as all of you as stewards of our community, we are always looking for these opportunities. To showcase all of the wonderful teaching and learning that's happening here at the high school. I personally and professionally believe that community service and building community gets our with a very strong sense of purpose. And it's something I'd like to continue. So please spread the word and feel free to reach out. And lots of these projects we find do align beautifully with a real world application to it. So once again, I'd like to thank the teachers and the students that came out tonight to share this with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Thank you for that. And now I'm excited to bring up Gildersleeve Principal Tracy Graff to introduce us to a very special group of Gildersleeve students who have been so patient in waiting their turn. So welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. We're excited to share the spotlight with the high school students. We're here tonight to talk a little bit about a new program we have at Gildersleeve this year that we're calling IVE Council. It's a leadership opportunity for our fourth graders. They are our oldest students in our building, and this group is now acting as mentors and leaders and just all around good role models, not only for the younger students, but for their classmates and peers. So they're going to tell you a little bit tonight about how they got involved, what kind of things that they do.
Good evening, Dr. Britton and members of the Board of Education. My name is Chelsea and I'm a fourth grader at Gildersleeve. This year we were so excited to launch our very first IVE Council. It's a way for students to have a real seat at the table. I'm Lucas. Every month, students in the fourth grade class have the chance to apply to be a member of the council. Those of us who join meet with Mr. Bernard and Mrs. My name is We also look for new ways to spread kindness throughout the building. My council members help us meet and lead. You might see us leading the morning announcement or emceeing our monthly council. We also have that for the students and the students of the community classroom. Or for the students and child the model that we one of my classmates got me for the fit initiative to start a something together from the 100 businesses and the students and staff to do as those students. My reasons and what happened with the petition down with the lower layers. This practice, and there is the notion that bad students this fact purchased the staff and the service Now we have two close friends. Hi PJ, this is a very wonderful female which is a real difference. We're so proud of what that has done in this year and look forward to taking the leadership skills with us to the next level. Thank you for supporting us.
So yeah, that's a little bit about what they've done so far this year, and I don't know if we have any questions for them.
Sure, I have a question. One of you talked about part of your job is to role model what leadership looks like for the rest of the students at Gildersleeve, and I'd love to know what does leadership look like? No? Any takers? What does it look like to you to be a good leader at school?
Some things that you do. You act like a leader. But don't follow people that are doing the wrong thing, yeah, but do the right thing, maybe do the wrong thing, yeah, yeah. I think some of the things that they like this year too, they do, the morning announcements, right, they come on with me and they lead the morning announcements. At the assemblies too, they mentioned that they like to be up there in front. But the second graders really do look up to them and they are already asking, you know, when can they do that? I'm like, have to wait till fourth grade, but they do, they like to see them in the hallway. And some of the classes have been working with second graders too, right? These classes been doing that. Yeah, some of them have been going in and working with second grade classes, so that's another way, right?
Yeah. Any other questions, board members?
No, but I think it's great that we're training them early, so when they get to high school, they can do all those wonderful projects like they saw the Rockfell. That's leadership, that's the community leadership, so that's great. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all so much for coming and sharing with us. And families, you are more than welcome to stay. And also, if you need to move on with your evening, that's okay too. All right. And as they move along, we're going to move on with our agenda. We've got both of our student representatives here this evening, and we're excited to have an update.
It's been a while since we've been able to give a report, so we have a little bit to talk about tonight. But I'll start with our music news. Our Addams Family musical was a huge success. The cast and crew were very thankful to all our students, faculty, staff, and the general community for their support. We had a great turnout. It was really nice to have a good supporting audience.
Yeah.
The music department is headed to Virginia Beach this Thursday for a competition. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of our students who are excited to compete and for some hopefully much needed warm weather and sunshine. The forecast isn't looking that great, but we'll see. And then when break ends, music students are faced with our respective extravaganzas with the band on Wednesday the 22nd and chorus on Thursday the 23rd. The wind ensemble and a cappella also held a very successful chamber concert, highlighting the strength of our upper level ensembles and the members who compose them.
This is back in February.
Yeah. In sports news, our spring sports are now in full swing, and we are very excited about the many accomplishments of our spring athletes. And actually, our tennis courts just started getting repaired, so that's exciting. We're going to be able to play some home matches, hopefully. Continuing the good news with our DECA program, sophomore Rowan Coots, who's here, was awarded fourth place in the sports and entertainment category. This qualifies her for the DECA ICDC in Atlanta, Georgia from April 25th to 29th, which she and Isabella Hayden will be attending. We would like to extend our congratulations and wish them the best of luck representing our school. DECA also ran their annual Easter egg fundraiser, which was a huge success. And as you may have heard, our CTE department is a part of the Cobalt Perkins Consortium. The Perkins grant was accepted by the state and new equipment has started arriving that includes 3D printers, wireless microphones, lighting kits, a drone, and an embroidery machine, just to name a few. Cobalt teachers have been collaborating across the 3 towns with Miss Terry hosting a business workshop after April break. And back in February, as you all have heard, we had a pep rally for our 6th graders to come visit the high school to help strengthen our community. This story was then featured on Channel 8's What's Right with Schools. So we have the clip actually. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Bernard, I should have sent it to you earlier.
It is this second one.
Are rolling out the welcome mat early for incoming students, early, getting them pumped up for what's ahead. Let's go to Portland this morning and what's right with school. You excited? Yeah. It's an exciting day at Brownstone Intermediate School in Portland.
I'm mascot. The red and black coat, all the board guns.
These are the Portland high schoolers formally inviting their intermediate student peers to an upcoming pep rally.
If you're a red shirt, you'll be joining the seniors. If you are assigned a blue shirt, you will join the juniors. If you're assigned a pink shirt, you'll join the sophomores, and green shirts will join our freshman class.
They're visiting the school today to prepare them for a visit to the high school. Let's call it a pep rally to the pep rally. Today's pep rally, a day of fun and games. That's always a highlight for the high schoolers, and it's the second year they've invited their younger peers to experience the fun.
Last year, they wanted to invite the sixth graders to their February pep rally because sixth grade is really the last of our elementary grades in our district. And even though we're a small district, they felt that this was a great way for them to reach out to the elementary schools on a large scale.
I was very excited. Try the high school, playing with all the younger high school students. I think we can all remember just how daunting it can be to go from the familiar hallways of your middle or intermediate school into the high school. This program is meant to help with that sometimes scary transition. A great opportunity for these
Where we roll around on the
any
floor.
fear they may have. Get a sneak peek at
There's
what's
Liam.
ahead.
I don't even know. I would love to do a lot of stuff.
Building connections, making friends.
A lot of them, when they came in, they told me, oh, do this. Cause I do also do a mentor program with Brownstone, and I meet with a couple of students that see mentoring.
It's what's right in schools. How nice having them together early like that.
It's got a level of 10 excitement
I
right
love
there.
Some level 10 excitement.
Yeah.
Like everybody
Yeah.
does.
Bear with us, we got a little more.
Great, we're
Um,
ready for it.
Back to April. That was way back in February. But back to April. We've got quite the month shaping up here. The 20th to the 24th is going to be our Spring Spirit Week with a pep rally on the 24th. A new feature is the Underground Spirit Day. Every class chooses a secret theme to dress as for the day. And then basically throughout maybe fun competition, the other grades will try to guess. But the 25th is the junior senior prom at St. Clement's Castle here in Portland. Hopefully, good weather. Holding out for that. The sophomore auction is scheduled for the 30th. Please feel free to come and attend. We have some amazing donations, so I've heard. And then on the 19th, the hiking club will venture out to Chatfield Hollow State Park in Killingworth, Connecticut, which is a great way to wind down after April vacation. Throughout the month, the Portland High School counselors are meeting with all the juniors and their respective families for career and college planning meetings. Lastly, as a part of our growing outreach program, NHS is hosting the 7th grade class to tours of the high school on April 28th during Mentor. One of the many ways NHS and the Portland High School community makes connections to lower grades in other schools. That's all.
That's great. Thank you so much for that update. Any questions? No. All right, thank you both, and we're so glad to have you back. And congratulations on both of your involvement with the musical. It's
Thank you.
really such a phenomenal production. You
Thank
have a
you.
lot to be proud of. Thank you. All right, communications and updates. I will turn it over to Dr. Britton.
So a few for you tonight. I'll keep it short because I know we have a lot to get through with the executive session. In your folder tonight, you did receive one resignation from Carolyn Kemp. Wish Ms. Kemp all the best of luck in her future career endeavors. Next, I did include in there was really, really neat. Julie McGovern, our MLL teacher. She was awarded through the Trust for Fund for Teachers. Really neat fellowship experience that she's going to be doing at Dartmouth College this summer. So they came in. Our part was finding her. She's between all of our schools. So Julie received that fellowship, and I'm really proud of her. I know how excited she was. She had applied for it a couple times. This was the first year she got it. She almost forgot about it, but when it came in, I know how excited she was. So congratulations to Julie on that. Did include an enrollment report in your packet tonight. So there's your latest snapshot of where we stand in terms of our enrollment. Let me pause there. Any questions on resignations, on Julie's award, or on the enrollment? But I can move through these quickly.
Congratulations on the award, but what does that impact does it have to the school system?
Julie's award?
Yeah.
It's her professional development.
I know, but we have to replace her when she's gone.
No, it's in the summer.
Oh, it's a summer,
We
okay.
go in Hanover over the summer.
Oh, okay.
She's got, it's a language institute that she's gonna go
Oh,
to
okay.
at Dartmouth College, and there's a professor there who's done research on this language acquisition technique that she's gonna learn all about.
Okay,
So-
and your fellowship usually they're longer.
No. One week in the summer.
The newsletter, by the way, is very informative when she
Yes.
puts those down there. That's something that's new that she does. It's very informative.
Yep. No, she'll be back in time to start the school year. Excited. Did include with you, and I want to make sure that I recognize Stephanie for this. And we got our audit from Mahoney and Sable that came in, and it's another year of clean audits. Now, I've just got to pause for a second. Sometimes I feel like, oh, clean audit, great, move on, right? Every time we get those, and I hope you read them, like it's not the easiest read in the world, but you learn a lot about the finances of Portland. But my takeaway from it is as they're reflecting on all of the financial controls, they have a lot of auditing language in there, like what the bean counters do to make sure that the many millions of dollars that come into the district and are expended through the district are managed well. That is Stephanie and that is Tom. They are working all the time to keep very close tabs on every nickel that comes in, how it's accounted for, how it's spent, and then all of the record keeping and things that go into that. That is a tremendous amount of work. So I gave Stephanie and Tom a shout out when I saw that. It is a real testament. We are blessed to have both Stephanie and Tom. And I just wanted to pause because one of the things that gives me great confidence is knowing that those internal controls are there and that the finances are managed so well. That is essential as we are hopefully on the eve of managing a $109 million project, right? Like that Stephanie and Tom are as good as they are. That gives me great confidence that we have the leadership team in place to manage hopefully a huge investment in the town. So I wanted to pause to just say thank you, Stephanie. I know that, sometimes you say, oh, clean audit, that's sort of an expectation, but as you look around, some of our communities would be begging for a clean audit. We're blessed to have it. It's no lack of work and effort that goes into it, but it really does reflect the very high quality fiscal management that Stephanie provides for us, as well as Tom. And not enough people say thank you for that. Most people are yelling at Stephanie because they need more and want her to move quickly and get it done faster. But sometimes she's very good at saying no, and she has to slow that process down and make sure that we're getting the bids and doing things the right way, so that we do get those clean audits. So I think on behalf of all of us, I gotta say thank you and congratulations on another great year. I did include the audit in your packet there. Again, it's not the easiest read. It's not the most, spellbinding, but you should give it a read. There's a lot of really important information in there about the town's current debt load, about the current fund balances, about the relative fiscal health of the town, about your bond rating, all of which is essential on the eve of what we're about to. And those bond ratings will affect borrowing costs and interest rates and lots of things. So as you read that report, not only celebrate Stephanie and Tom's hard work, but it gives you a fiscal snapshot of the health of your town, which is strong. Right? That is, the town is in a very good position, has the type of bond ratings you need, and I think is very well prepared, hopefully, for coming out of that May 11th bonding referendum both on the management side and on the borrowing side. You're in a really good place, probably, well, you should be proud of yourselves. Pause there. Any questions on that budget or that audit report? Otherwise, give it a read when you're really lively and awake. It's not an easy read, but yeah. But there really is nothing more important when it comes to the management of the schools than that. A couple of other quick ones then. So next year's progress towards next year. So Stephanie, Sarah, and I have been working with an attorney from Shipman and Goodwin. We now have the leases developed for the Saybrook Reading Company and for the lease on Main Street. Happy to say that last Thursday, thank you, Sarah, for going to that. Zoning approved the changes that we needed to see approved for the property on Main Street that we want to move our transition program into. The next step for that is a town meeting. So there has to be a town meeting to discuss it. Do we know when that is yet? I'll let you know when that is, but we're moving forward with that. And it all arrows are pointing in the right direction for us to enter into a lease with the landlord and move our transition program to that Main Street location. Now that it's gotten through zoning, we're good to go. And we've developed now the lease for the Saybrook Reading Program. Those two things had to happen concurrently to open the space here.
Right.
And that lease has been developed. We've shared it with Saybrook Reading. We're getting their feedback on it. Otherwise, I think we're in a position to open that new revenue stream and then, of course, move our transition program to that Main Street location. Both of those legal documents are well underway, and I think we'll have them done certainly before the end of May. And thank you, Sarah, for your help with all that. And I really like the guy we worked with at Shipman and Goodwin. He was very knowledgeable and helpful. Yeah. But it was smart to get him to help us because we wouldn't want to. Yeah, I learned a lot about it too, right? Yeah, that's a cool part for sure. So both those leases are underway. Okay, so I can't remember if I told you last time, we did take a $50,000 cut to our budget. We know that our deficit now is 200,000. Stephanie and I are not yet prepared to identify where we're going to make those cuts. We just want to wait. And the reason we want to wait is that we're still hopeful that there may be a foundation change to the ECS grant, which might bring in some more revenue. And it's just too early, right? So Stephanie and I are going to keep a very close eye on it. You know, whether we can bring in tuition students from through our new transition program location and some other things. I think I'll likely have some recommendations for you if we need to make cuts, which hopefully we won't. Likely by towards the middle of May. I think the legislative session ends May 5th. That will be a hurdle one. Otherwise, you know, I just want to push it off. So just bear with us. Stephanie and I are on top of it. I'm not prepared to suggest where we make those cuts now. Hopefully we won't have to make them. And hopefully I'm in a position where by the end of May, we're talking about revenue streams that we've opened that might enable us to add back some of the cuts we I just want you to know we're still aware of it, just not ready to make any recommendations.
And that's based off that deficit position is based off of where the Board of Selectmen left off with their budget deliberations 2 weeks ago. They have not taken formal action yet, but they will take action at their meeting tomorrow night.
Correct.
So just as a FYI, we think that's where it's landing.
That's right. Yep. Okay, two personal ones then. So next, our May meeting, my son is being recognized for his scholarship at his high school. He's a senior, he's graduating. I can't believe it. I can't not be there.
Yeah.
So please understand, I won't be here in person at our next meeting. We'll prep Laurel up. You'll be fine. If I can join, I think I'll need to zoom in with you for the executive session part. We'll have a couple of contracts. I'll be done with his ceremony by then, but I gotta see him. He's done really well in high school and he's getting a big award for that. So, and then I'm happy to say that his graduation date is not the same date as ours. So that was my big stress this year. So I won't be with you in person. I'll join you for the executive session part, but I think it'll be fine. We'll make sure we're all squared.
All right. Make sure that the agenda is manageable.
Yep. Good. And then the last one I have is just happy April break. We need it. I think a lot of us are very tired today because we were up late watching UConn last night. But April break is always very well timed. And I'm happy to see it's kind of cool this week, but it's looking beautiful next week. So everybody enjoy a restful break and hopefully get some nice weather, do some hiking or gardening or something.
Yeah, let's talk about
Workshop.
Yes.
workshops.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Charles.
All I got.
All right, then we'll move, any questions for Charles before we move on? We're gonna keep moving then. We're gonna, turn to Stephanie for, third quarter financial report.
So in the packet was the third quarter financial reports, I can read it, if there's any questions about any of it. I will say that I'm thankful that we kind of put the little small freeze we did when we did, because our open choice did end up getting cut to the 8,000 per student. So we're good in that sense. So waiting for excess cost for the second submission to find out if we're keeping, or as of right now, it's 505,460, which is the full 72.72%. But if the filing in March needs change in districts, it can go up, it can go down. So I emailed the state last week, so I was hoping to have an answer by today for you guys. But they were finishing their audit on all the submissions, and hopefully I'll have that by the May meeting. I mean, I'm hoping it's not a huge drop. But that's why I'm kind of keeping it as is. I'm not comfortable saying if we're in a surplus and a deficit. We're not in a deficit as of right now. But I'm not comfortable sharing really much more than that at this time, but we're doing okay. Really, that's the only two things that are really impacting us right now. Just trying to, can't believe it's the middle of April already, and we're talking about the audit from last year, and I'm getting ready to close out the year, 2 months now.
Just remind me, is the reduction in open choice coming due to our fill rate?
Yeah. The enrollment. If it goes below that 5%.
Even though it wasn't our fault, people dropped at the end during the school year.
It's as of October 1st. That's the cutoff, so it doesn't matter what we have after that.
And
It's
we
just
did
that
with
that's
the
that
level
snapshot.
we didn't have as many seats open, but.
We did, they just didn't.
We had no kindergarten, because usually we get an extra with that, we had kindergartners, so. I'm a bummer this year, but that's okay. Okay.
Any other questions for Stephanie? No? All right, thank you, Stephanie. All right. We have Sarah with us for a report, our Director of Student Services.
Hi, everybody. I don't think I've been here since February, so there are a couple of additional months on the report you received. Nothing's really big to touch on, which is typical areas I'll go through for that point. So as far as our overall enrollment, our outplacement has been the same. As far as that identification rate that we've been talking about, we come down to about 20.7 at our peak in July of 2024. I believe we were 22.7. So that has definitely come down. We're having really great conversations across the district about eligibility, over identification, disproportionality, all of those things. It's really a whole different it's really with that number. As far as our other numbers, they're quite typical for this time of year, really no large change in the numbers. Any questions on overall enrollment or eligibility? All right, so some department update for outlets nest, again, that is our play-based learning and sensory space of value that is grant funded. We've gone through, I suppose, all of the screening for identifying students who will participate in the program. Again, those are not necessarily students with Title IVs or IEPs. There are students that are more receiving tiered services, so students with disabilities. Our screening device is essentially a rating scale that teachers fill out and identify students who might benefit from this type of learning. 22 students right now have been identified or being serviced, and staff are using the in-house system in addition to a follow-up rating scale. So the teacher does a rating scale when the child begins, and then when they end, they kind of show the growth of the student throughout the program. The kiddos are really enjoying it. I got to observe a couple of groups the other week. One cute little kindergartner said, "I'm so glad that someone had the imagination to dream up this room." Which we wait and see. It's like,
wow.
Like, it's just very sweet. It's been nice to see those kiddos that are more like internalized or accreditation, and have like the kind of open-ended space in blossom. And so it's very sweet. I would recommend school over there, check it out. Thank you again to the staff members, spearheading, they're doing an amazing job. Staff are enjoying it. A lot of families have reached out and asked to help make up. So Alex Nest has been really a big success. I hope it's something that we can continue funding, and supporting. Really tradition. Professional development in February, we had that full day PD day. We did those ed camp style PD where, people are picked from different offerings that their colleagues are offering. We also did a whole district presentation on eligibility, proportionality, all of the things that I've been talking about. And as I mentioned earlier, it really has invited some great conversations in buildings about all of that. I think it's allowing us to do the work that we need to do at the district-wide level. So that's been really lovely to see. We also use some of that seed grant money. So Speak Seed was the special education development grant from the state that came out kind of mid-year. We were able to get some paraeducators through that. We also had to bring a couple of programs for our special education students. So some that folks are working on now are the living with verbalized visual ed entrance program for kiddos with reading disabilities. We're also trying executive function program with middle school, and then a couple other that we're still trying throughout district. So it's been a nice opportunity to get some new programs. The district try them out and then decide if it's something we want to proceed with funding. So I think staff have been excited they're able to get some wishes, roasted, if you will, with that seed money that we received. Any questions on professional development or Alex Nest? Hope someone goes over and sees the notes too. Look at it. As far as hiring, I'm happy to report that we no longer need a backup driver. We were actually able to work with Sarah, Parastas Senior Center, who's been phenomenal in supporting us, and do some sharing of their senior center drivers. They're already employed by this now, their background checks, and they're able to do some of that on the fly fill. Because a lot of those folks, again, are people just looking for kind of part-time employment. So we've been able to use that rather than having our own backup driver on staff, which is support that. And so it's been a really helpful thing that Sarah's part with. So no open positions at this time, other than the renovation of development. But in the transportation realm, we are fully funded. And so any questions on transportation? Nope. And then just the state mandated data sharing, rather, there are no additions here. This is all of our existing outplacements and all the information we pushed with for our transition program. So no changes there. Any other questions?
I'm glad to hear about the Owlet's Nest, and I know getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but with the new building project, I hope that space can be maintained, that it will be able to.
Yeah, certainly we have that plan. A lot of staff made sure the initial drawings, made sure they advocate that space will maintain. Because it's been such an interesting asset. I mean, I would love to have one at both elementaries, one. We could find it. It's really nice. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions and comments?
I think so. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you for going to the planning and zoning meeting and advocating for our program. There were a lot of questions and a lot of back and forth, and there were some community concern that wasn't really necessarily specifically related to our programming. It was more just sort of about rumors and process, I guess. So I thought, Sarah did a really wonderful job explaining what the program is about and why this is such an important investment for making and moving this program out into the community. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. And I think if it comes up, I think the biggest piece of new learning for folks is the idea that special education ends at 18 is an idea most of them have. I think we know that we have students who are young adults that are served through the public schools, that we haven't had a child who's needed that kind of support. I think you just don't know. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this home, is it this, residing there. So, please encourage folks to reach out and email me if they have any questions about that programming. I think people also didn't know it is an existing program and we're just moving their location. And I think the point too that I've been emphasizing with folks in the community is that I really do believe the state will soon come down with a mandate that it can no longer be in a high school. I think we will soon be mandated to move into the community because it is the best practice. So I'm also letting people know, I think that we're getting ahead of the 8 ball and that we have a space that is perfect for us now versus waiting until we have to move and we can't find something that's exactly right. So yeah, next steps will be, we have lease agreement ready to go. The folks who own the building are gonna apply for the permits necessary to, as I mentioned, look out the kitchen, do a lot of improvements inside, build the brand, build the compliant bathroom. They don't anticipate any issues with that process, so it'll be permitted and then they can begin construction. And our lease would ideally begin in August 1, so we would have August to kind of decorate, pretty up, fill in the furniture, get it ready to go for end of August. Any other questions on the transition program and steps there?
Well, like I've suggested on other programs, should we have an opportunity, once it's ready to go, to tour it or an open house type of situation? I think would help.
We should make that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think the kids would love, I don't remember this, but the students would love to give you a tour. They do a lot of partnership with the senior center too, and I think that's been really positive. So yes, I think absolutely. I think another next step, once those things are into place, the permits are passed, I will begin marketing it to other districts for fall. I just haven't started because I wanted to make sure that is passed before we get the front for the course. But yeah, absolutely. That'd be a great idea.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you all so much.
All right, we're gonna move to new business. And the first item is to review and approve Gildersleeve Trust grants, which is a kind of privilege that we get to do this every year. Would you like to tee it up?
Sure, I'll just just remind everybody, we are blessed in this town to have the Gildersleeve grant. So many incredible things have come to us and continue to come to us through that fund. So I'll let Chuck explain each of those. I asked Chuck to kind of quarterback this a little bit, manage all the requests, and all of these have now been vetted through the leadership team and through some initial conversations with Andy to make sure they align with the guidelines for the grant. And thank you, Chuck, for doing that. You could walk us through each of these and then we'll answer questions about them, and otherwise the process would be you will approve each of these tonight, then they go into the committee. I think we're talking about what, a May meeting?
A May meeting.
May meeting.
So before you cover we will be, Gildersleeve grant last year approved our music lab, which was a 2-year grant. So one thing they normally, it's somewhere around 100,000 that gets funded each year. To start off with this year, the second year of that music lab is already guaranteed. So that will be happening, finishing up that music technology lab. That's around 31,500. The biggest grant this year is going to be our math grant. I've been talking about this with you all year, our 6th grade math curriculum. We actually, and you'll see 2 grants related to it in your packet. You can take out, pull out the iReady one. Yesterday, I met with our committee and we finally made our decision after finishing a pilot on our amplified Desmos math program we move forward with. I do plan to bring that forward to the curriculum subcommittee next month, as well as the full board, to share more with you on that in May. But that was the program that we decided to go forward with. The grant that we're putting forward will fund us for 2 years of implementing the curriculum along with professional development necessary to ensure that we're not only implementing a product, but we're doing it with best possible practices to ensure that our middle school student, our 6th through 8th grade students are really using the best possible instructional resources we have available to us, that skill. As district, we see this as a critical area of need, so that's why it's one of our highest priority areas for students. The second one we have is for play-based learning.
I think that instead of having you summarize all of them, let's just take them one at a time. I think, and board members can ask, because we do have to vote on each one as an individual grant. So while we're on the topic, let's see if board members have any questions about it. Is that all right?
Of course.
Okay, great. So
the question I have is how you built in an off ramp for when the grant at the end of the 2-year period when the grant funding ends.
Yes, so you'll notice this year we did put in some curriculum materials purchased for Spanish this year. Good sizable chunk for that piece. And there already is built in math workbooks as well. So that's what's in for this year's part of the budget to make sure it's not a cliff that's gonna then fall apart. Next year, my plan will be to continue doing that, whether it's through potentially math intervention curriculum, Continuing the workbook things that we might need to make sure that we're funding that at the same level, so that when the grant goes away, we are able to fund that. That's something that Charles and I talked about at Stephanie, to make sure we're not creating this dip when we get all of this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Chuck, I just noticed that I think my only question really is that it looked like there's two separate amounts for what the total is that you're requesting. On the last page where it lays it out, there was the total amount of the line items that you broke out, but then right above it, it says amount requested is 62,000. So I wasn't sure which number was correct.
No, the number should be $50,837.
Okay, so that probably just needs to get updated.
And there's one more, I'll get through different grants that I can correct this. This was a faster than anticipated. They wanted us to get into this board meeting.
Perfect.
Well, that was my question, but we can still vote on it with that edit.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we can absolutely, let's just vote on it to as amended.
Yes, I'll be very clear. It's gonna be $50,837.
Great. Were there any other questions about this particular grant application? I know you are in close contact with Andy Bauer and with the folks at the trust. And so they know this is coming and you have a sense that they're supportive of
Yeah,
proposal.
we've been in contact. They know that this is also one of our highest priorities. We talked a lot about this in the area, what we did with the bridges program previously, bring back up, that was how that came about, was starting the grant. So we're fairly confident that this got well.
Okay, great.
I think I asked Charles that question every day. It's okay, great.
Yeah, that's fair. Great. Any other questions about this particular grant?
Oh, this is great.
Right, and if not, I'm hoping someone will be willing to.
I
make a
move
motion.
to recommend the Portland Board of Education approve to submit a Gildersleeve grant to fund the 6th through 8th grade Amplify math program.
Thank you, Erin. Is there a second? Seconded by Kim. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you.
Next one I'll bring you to is our play-based funds. This past year, and honestly, following the initiatives we had for a number of years, and we've been working on building play-based learning in our local elementary school. This past year, we gave professional development with CEA, and it ended with them delivering us a play card and creative ways in how we could use that to engage students in science, social studies, just creative play in general. It's one part that we could share across the building, and the teachers have really fallen in love with it. You'll see on the grant, there's actually a picture of that part there. We're looking to expand that, so that we can deliver that across our lower elementary schools. To expand it to a number of parts that we would house in the library. Each day to check out, similar to what we do with the laptop card. But if you want to get rid of laptop cards and focus on play-based cards. The number in there is inaccurate. You'll see it should read 3,000. That was a typo. I was being prepared to respond to, so I apologize. The apply one, this one should read $3,000. For developing play-based cards or play-based resources at kindergarten, pre-K kindergarten one. And this was authored in collaboration with myself and our team leaders at K1.
So sorry, it took me a second to find it. It should be 3,000.
Should be 3,000. You'll see the line item
Yeah.
3,000 says total 6.
Yep.
Because again, trying to balance all of these grants out, so that was one that we had to.
No, that's fine. It just took me a
That
second.
makes sense. Any questions about this particular grant? Around a little bit.
No, I think that's a great idea. Anytime you can get kids out playing and getting around the dirt or whatever they're doing, but I think that's incredibly important. So. Yeah.
Is someone willing to make a motion for this particular grant?
I'll move to recommend to the Portland Board of Education approval to submit a Gildersleeve grant to fund the play-based learning costs.
Thank you, Kim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Erin. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Chuck, do you mind if we do,
Tell me.
I'm gonna tell you so that we can go in order of our public. Let's do the CPR and first aid course enhancement next.
Absolutely.
All right.
This is being submitted by CD Library. The timing to let she wanted to submit it as a mini grant, but timing worked out just for the next board meeting anyway, so we're kind of putting in a couple of those that are under 2,000 with our new process. This grant is to update CPR and first aid resources that she uses for her health class to teach students CPR and first aid.
Yeah.
We have the same generic, white male model in CPR dummy, and the goal here is to find ones that are female models and, ones that are natural, some an obese model, different models so that the more appropriately match the real world those students are going to engage in CPR. Modernizing what we utilize, it's something that she would use to really help bolster the students' skills in administrative for those that learn in a more realistic environment.
I think this is a little bit outside of this, but I am curious, do you know if students are CPR certified after going through this course?
I do not believe they are CPR certified, of course, she teaches the essentials of CPR. And first aid and nurse Oakland, Mr. Opie comes in and works with the students, shares what could happen. But she really does a good job of showing all the resources around the school from the doing CPR first aid, the AED items, our Narcan kits, our stop the bleed kits, all of those things. So that she's keeping our high school very aware of the different elements that to be aware of this for preventing injury.
And also recognizing when there is a critical need and to make that call to 911 or find an adult that does have CPR training. So that's this. This is just a side note. I do wonder if we create any liability for ourselves, equipping students with CPR and first aid skills when they're not certified. This is not, this has nothing to do with this going up. That was maybe something to consider.
It's health curriculum and there's bystander.
As an adult, you're not held liable for CPR or first aid. Even when you're certified. Tough question.
And this is something that's not your, of course.
No, this is,
had this.
there's a standard about it in health class.
It's just a concern, and if we haven't already looked into it to make sure that we know the answer to that, and just as board member with oversight responsibilities, feel confident knowing that we know 100% of the answers for school days.
I can speak to
Yeah,
that a
but-
bit.
Yeah,
We do a bit of Good Samaritan law research with this CPR unit. So I know in health class, as well as we have another law and society course where we do go extensively into duty to rescue and Good Samaritan laws and what those look like and what they look like here in the state of Connecticut.
That's not correct. I just Googled quickly, so I don't know if it's accurate, that it is law that it has to be part of a curriculum to
Yeah.
provide CPR.
there's a curriculum standard.
I can find out. I will double check that. I think it is part of the standards and
Yeah,
part
it
of
is.
that health curriculum. I don't know that, hey, if I'm not properly trained and gone through the full course, right? And yet I tried to give CPR on somebody,
You're,
injure them.
you are
You are still, I believe the Good Samaritan law.
100%.
Covers them, but it's worth a double check.
Absolutely.
Fair, I mean, I'm on the phone with Rebecca pretty regularly these days. Got a couple of things I'm managing, that you'll learn more about. I can just ask her. Yep.
Yeah, good points all around.
Jody Giller is free, by the way.
Any other questions about this request, about the proposal?
I move to recommend the Portland Board of Ed approve this and to submit a Gildersleeve grant to the fund to fund the CPR first aid course enhancement.
Thank you, Erin. Second by Annie. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Let's do the spooktacular project next.
So one thing they're looking for more artist in residence type grants, so we have a few of those. This is one of them this year. Which is a grant to have mad science and Western New England come and offer a 60-minute experience that promises to leave our kids gasping and laughing. So showing science within a very fun, creative, lab-based environment, themed around, spookiness of the season. This is something that will be hosted assemblies for builders, really hoping to build up their climate and bringing in outside experts to share with us.
Wonderful. It sounds like a lot of fun.
That's for $920.
Other questions for Chuck about this proposal? Not hearing any. Is there a motion to approve spectacular?
I'll make a motion.
Seconded by Annie. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. I think we've got it's called Arts for Learning Connecticut Program Boogie Chillin'.
Yes, so Arts for Learning is the organization, Arts for Learning Connecticut. This is another assembly type presentation. They will be coming in to present to University a musical journey history. Focusing on American-based music, global spirituals, songs of freedom, country, blues, jazz, hip hop, and soul. The students will be encouraged to dance, sing, participate along, as they're also explaining the history around them. And this grant is for $1,350. This one is because of how participatory it is focused on having 2 shows so that they could have less students for the need for standing up from grants.
Just out of curiosity, are timing wise on these, you're imagining these programs will happen in next
I
school
imagine
year?
these for next.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Any questions?
I do have a question. Are some of these artist and resident programs funded through the PTOs? And do their fundraising?
It's sometimes, yes.
I'm just wondering why we're asking them to receive for, like, visiting artists or authors or whatever.
Well, the first reason would be that Gildersleeve Grant has requested that we start looking for grants around this. That was something part of their mission. They were looking to see funded, so they had come to us last year. Asking that we look for about 20% of what we're looking for grants, or that's their goal. Be in that area. So after starting that, we did share with the individuals, look for artists and resident members.
And then the last question, do we have a total of what we're asking the grant, funding all the grants that might be for us tonight that you?
I do. I was going to share that, but I would go one at a time, but yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And for clarification, that we're staying within a total that they've let us know is.
That's what I was hoping I could hear, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes,
other
no,
than just sending all.
That's
not
why
out
you
of the
notice-
blue.
That's what you notice the play-based learning that
Yeah.
adjusted, that went down.
Yeah.
Make sure that we are very clear within those guidelines.
Yeah,
The
to have these.
easily accepted grants.
They're all wonderful and I wouldn't want to see them not all be accepted and approved, so.
What is the total?
Okay, normally they give us somewhere between $100,000 and $110,000 where they look to fund.
Okay.
Our total this year, skipping ahead to that, our total this year is $100,946.55.
Okay.
Got it down.
That's good. That's wonderful. We're so fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to see that they are looking for artists and other programs, not just hardware and other things that we're looking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for all the work that was put into it. It's a lot of work to do it, Gwen, and yeah, thank you.
All right, is there a motion around the Arts for Learning?
Arts for Learning. I'll make a motion to support the grants. Source for Arts for Learning.
Seconded by Kim. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Any extensions? Motion passes. All right. The next one up, we are skipping the iReady math program.
That one's Kara.
Tearing it up. And the next one is the Tom Lee Storyteller / visiting artist.
This one's by Carrie Hopkins at middle school. This would be for each of our middle school classes to receive a writing workshop from a visiting author, Tom Lake, writer Tom Lake. He would do a writing workshop in each class of the building. So it's a creative writing. Again, this one really fits with that idea of visiting artists and artists, taking it professional world, having him share his craft in a more classroom environment with each group. So they would visit 20 clubs, there'd be 20 sessions.
Is he a local artist or do we have to put him up somewhere? Does he stay in the area?
We do not have to put them on that. The cost here is for the entirety of it. I believe he's local. We're to carry out and chat about him as the. So the professional residence grant, the category. And it was for, 10 sessions. Overall courses.
Yeah, wonderful. Any other questions about this one?
I move to recommend the Portland Board of Ed approve to submit a Gildersleeve grant for Tom Lee Storyteller visiting artist.
Thank you, Erin. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Meg. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Wonderful. And then the last one in front of us tonight is the Portland Secondary School studio expansion.
Yes, so this is specifically for the auditorium connections for our studio. What the idea would be to install some new cameras into our auditorium that would be there permanently. To reduce the need to set up some takedowns every time we go and do live streams in our auditorium. It would we'd be able to remote in from currently, I believe, the lab at the middle school with the camera features. Our hope would be to continue building that into the future, do that same thing at the high school. But with the money we have this year, there was a thought of doing water grant as well. But we decided we will hold that off for next year, focusing this year just on the auditorium to enable us to have a bit more of a modern setup with adding those cameras to allow for easier facilitation of live streaming programs. From Bill and Cory. And it's for $7,300.
Sorry, say that again.
That one, well, sorry, I apologize. That one is for $7,269.49.
Got it. Okay, that's what's on it. Wonderful.
Right.
Any other questions about this proposal?
So do we have these cameras now?
No, these would be cameras we purchased. That's part of the grant.
Oh, really? They're not that expensive?
I'll let Dylan answer that because he's been the one in the Cory, but
Have you been shopping, Dylan, getting good prices?
So it's an extension of the studio that Corey built in his room at the back. So the cameras themselves are not horribly expensive. And it's that's primarily what the grant is for. And then it will interface with Corey's studio. And will alleviate the need to, as Beth said, to kind of pull some of the equipment in. Depending on the type of event. What we've been doing to link with that is I want to say convoluted, but there's a workaround that we've been doing to integrate his studio into the auditorium. And as we really streamline it and allow for the multicam system, the only other option we have is this Link Studio, which is what we use for live streaming all things like graduation and extravaganzas. And that company is no longer supporting it and whatnot. So if that goes down, we'd lose that ability. So this is kind of making steps in the direction to make sure we have a future in the practices that we have. And this is just one step to support that.
And these are good quality cameras, so.
Oh, yes. There's the robotic ones that we sometimes use for graduation and whatnot, smaller scale than. They're HD, they have the Zoom features and whatnot. And they'll be better cameras than what we use for the board meetings and for the cameras we've been using to live stream the validation event.
And our internet connections are good enough also to support this kind of.
Yeah, there's a pretty, intense isn't the right word, but there's a specific, setup that IT had to make
Yeah.
for his studio, and this just expands on that.
Yeah, we'll be putting it on kind of a different bandwidth.
Right, I want, yeah.
They'll run a cable up there, eventually it will get run to the high school studio to be able to link and connect.
Okay.
And when we present that a year from now, we'll be able to explore kind of. Similar thing of the crossovers we do with bids, we
Yeah,
be
sort
able
of
to do
bids.
those in separate locations all at the same time.
Yeah,
That's neat.
all right.
So we have large goals.
I know you're on it. I just have to ask the question, but good. All right, thank you.
Any other questions about this proposal? All right, if you're looking for a motion, then
I'll make the motion to support this request.
Portland Secondary School Studio expansion.
That's the one.
I'll second. Seconded by Aaron. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion passed.
Congratulations.
Thank you to all of our staff who worked so hard on preparing these grant applications. This represents a lot of hard work and some exciting opportunities for our students.
You know what I love? It's thinking outside the box. It's giving them an opportunity to take core standards and curriculum that's been, kind of canned and bring life to it in so many ways. And I think the Rockville Foundation is one good example. This is another good example of, breathing life into what kids are really going to learn.
And you'll see some of these grants that were under $2,000. Our hope is that those come earlier in the year in the future. Because that was the intention of developing kind of a mini grant process. So that they can happen within the school year, supposed to have to wait for that school year for some of the smaller purchase items.
Right.
So, everyone kind of is learning it this year, and my hope is that we continue to build it up for next year.
We used to have a 2-year process, or dually, what am I trying to say? Two times a year, October and April were the 2 months years ago, so maybe get back to that.
Well,
again.
with the plan is to do our typical and then the year, and the rest is running as applications come in for under 2,000.
Then you could do it that
It'll
way.
be on a rolling
That's-
basis.
on a rolling
Yeah,
basis. That's good too.
Yeah, which is wonderful. All right, thank you, Chuck. Did you have anything else you wanted to share on this before we move on?
No.
Okay. Then stay where you are, or no, we're actually bringing up Mr. Searson next. Sorry. We're gonna have a presentation on the middle school proposed schedule.
That's right here. Okay.
Oh, I saw this.
Hi, everyone. So you guys, are going to be getting, coming around right now, a proposed schedule, and this would be for next year for Portland Middle School. Just to kind of give you some highlights and some background on kind of how we got here. This is a process that started well before I was at the middle school, so we give credit where credit's due. I got to shout out Chuck, Charles, all of the staff members that got their eyes on this. This is something that has been discussed, it has been researched, it has been revised, it has been debated. And the reason that we decided that now is the right time, heading into the fall of 26 to move on this, is there's a variety of reasons. First and foremost, we feel that at this age, 7th, 8th, hopefully, very soon, 6th graders as well, we want the kids to see their teachers every day, and we want the teachers to see their kids every day. So when you look at that schedule, one of the things that you might notice is period by period, day by day, it might look like shorter class period in terms of minutes, and it is. But what happens because they are making contact with their teachers every single day is the amount of time that our students are actually spending in every single academic class increases over the course of the year. The other benefit to this is that it gives us some more consistency. So what's built in here is starting the day with a homeroom and a flex, which means we're taking flex out of the lunch block, which means that we are availing students to actually go to all of the teachers that are available, not just certain teachers that are available. Because they have flexes when a seventh grader has a flex and they can't go and see them and get the extra help that they need. It also gives us some consistency. I will be the first one to admit that if you ask anybody on the middle school staff to crack the code of the secondary schedule right now, they would not come to me to do that. I promise you. The first thing I say when somebody requests a meeting or to talk to me during C block or D block is yes. And my follow-up question is, what time is that at? So what happens is this all of a sudden gives us a lot more consistency in terms of planning. It gives us the ability for when kids are inevitably out because they're sick, making up that lost time becomes a lot easier and a lot more efficient. And beyond that, when you're talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, the reality is there's a lot of kids in this school that still need those breaks. They still need that couple minutes outside of class. This almost builds in those natural breaks because now you have more transitions every single day with that straight A schedule. It also gives us an ability to do something we've never done before, which is actually share some specific staff members with elementary schools, namely Brownstone, which means that to go along with the theme of getting ready for our 6th graders to come up. Now we have teachers who are already working with 6th graders right now, getting used to that middle school schedule. Overall, what it does is it also gives our current staff the ability to live this next year because this is far closer to what we will be going to when we have 3 grades, which means that in 2 years, that flip becomes a lot lighter and we don't have to make as big of an adjustment. But if there is something we got to tweak, if there's some problem solving we got to do, we can do that next year so that we are ready for those 6th graders in 2 years. Any questions on that?
Well, just having a middle school student moving flex and actually they were talking about homeroom and what's even homeroom and what happens in the morning.
Yeah.
So I don't think caught wind of your plan, but I was literally talking about that like 48 hours ago with
Really?
8th graders. Yes.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that is it, you know, I'm thinking about 7th graders coming in at the end of August and knowing that it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for them to feel at home and feel comfortable and get used to actually like doing a locker combination. That gives you that built-in time to not only work on that, but also you have a specific spot that they know that they're going to every morning. It also gives certain kids a consistent time to work on those executive functioning skills and the organization skills. So I think that consistency is something that not only I see a lot of value in, but it's something that, you know, like I said, Chuck's credit, Charles' credit, it's something that these teachers have been asking for a really long time.
And Mike, you didn't mention it at the beginning, but you gave a more in-depth proposal list to the curriculum committee. It's also been discussed at the personnel committee. Because you'll see an MOU on here that we need to talk about. So the board's curriculum and personnel committee both reviewed these and were in support of this. Yeah.
Well, one of my questions when we talked about this at personnel, and I know you addressed sharing staff now with Brownstone, which I know is going to be important next year as we have smaller 5th and 6th grade classes next year and the need for some of biz sharing of biz staff with the middle school. So I'm glad to hear that that's going to work in here. One of my questions that we talked about a little bit at personnel was around what happens with sharing staff between the middle school and the high school, which we still do a little bit.
Yeah.
And it sounded like the answer is there still will be select opportunities throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And in kind of a unique way, based on the staff that we are sharing between the middle school and the high school right now, those 2 staff members are still going to be able to be shared next year because the very smart people who built this schedule obviously had that in their minds and they said, and you know, like I said, this was a very inclusive process and we brought the high school in on this as well so that we can kind of say, is this even possible if we need Mr. Tucker, obviously to teach Morris to our middle school kids? Is it possible to have them do it during these specific time of days? Is it possible for world language teachers to work with middle school students during this specific time of day so that they can still teach on that high school schedule, on that rotating schedule, they can still teach those high school students. So thankfully that is something that we started thinking about, they started thinking about, we continued it this year. We're trying to get to a point where we finalize stuff like this.
What you just said about languages brings up another question for me that I'm aware that we have some 9th grade students who are taking Spanish classes at the middle school, like a Spanish 1 class at the middle school with 8th graders. How does that work? Does that work now moving forward, or will we have to make sure that we're offering a Spanish 1 class at the high school?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to actually share students.
Gotcha.
But we'll be able to share staff.
Okay. And these the changes in the schedule, can you just talk a little bit about how, if it will impact what classes are able to be offered overall to the middle schoolers? Is this going to change availability of world languages? Is it going to change, band chorus and how that's scheduled? And can kids do both? Like what impact will it have on course offerings?
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the beautiful things about this is it's not going to take away a student's ability to have the unified arts option that they have now. In a very positive way, actually, this moves the band and choruses out of flex. So what that does is, one, it increases the amount of time that Mr. Hogendorf and Mr. Tucker get with their students. But then it also, if you look on the last block, it also adds an elective. So our unified arts staff, when they started thinking about 6th graders coming up, they started to throw around ideas of what I could do in my art room, in my tech room, as an elective, as an added opportunity for our students. And this gives them the opportunity to try that. So instead of actually decreasing the amount of unified art that they have, they're still going to have the same amount of unified arts. They're still going to have conversational French and conversational Spanish in 7th grade, and the option to take Spanish or French in 8th grade. But now they will also get an opportunity to take another elective at the end of the day.
Other questions? Does this schedule rotate at the middle school, or it's the same every day?
So the only thing that rotates is going to be the elective block at the end of the day.
That's on a day 1, day 2.
Yeah.
Rotation.
Yeah, in terms of academic classes and then UA classes.
UA class also are the one, day 1, day 2, day A, B day.
Yeah.
So it's an every other day as opposed to currently 4 periods out of 6 blocks, rotating every 6 days. It's a mouthful to say.
Yeah, that's a lot
and
for a middle
it's more challenging to understand.
Plus, is it a band day or a course day?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a goal to get this to a rotating schedule when the 6th grade comes up?
The goal is more like, I'm gonna be completely honest, the goal is going to be more about trying to increase the instructional minutes throughout the year. So the schedule that was originally, looked at in terms of this is the best option for our students and our staff for when we have 3 grades, actually gives the instructional minutes a little bit higher, but it also keeps the amount of rotation down. I believe, Chuck, you can speak to this though, in terms of the rotation for a 3 grade schedule, were you guys still going 8A B day?
It's still an 8A B day, so it's just
The core classes will stay.
no core class changes. It's only the unified arts and electives that shift 8A B day. Everything else, science, math, report, academics would stay consistent every day. And that includes when 6th grade comes in. That's what this kind of morphed off of, is we had developed a 6th period schedule that this works with. So that's why it'd be very easy, as if 6th grade is coming up, to be able to adjust to that.
Yeah, that was the foundation that this built off of.
Okay.
So I have a question. You're shortening the amount of time the student is in a classroom with a teacher. How is that going to impact curriculum that is designed for 90-minute blocks or whatever? That's 60-minute blocks.
So one of the things that we kind of realize, and I've talked a lot about this with Chuck, I've talked about this with, a lot of teachers as well, is when teachers who were currently there went to those 60-minute blocks, right? There wasn't a lot of time spent in terms of what does a 60-minute block look like when it's at its best, right? And that's understandable because in everybody's mind, it's like, okay, we're going to increase the amount of time I get the kids in the classroom. We're going to have plenty of time. The benefit of this is and we've already started these conversations. This kind of forces those conversations, but like, you go 41 minutes with a student, there's no time for fluff, right? You got to get the kids in the door. They got to start thinking, they got to start doing it right away. What that looks like, Meg, in a 7th grade math classroom is obviously going to be different than what that looks like in an 8th grade social studies classroom. But the structure is something that not only we're going to start working on right now and the strategies that we can use, but like I said, that's something that throughout next year, when we're talking about how this is going, we can kind of start to tweak and change for when we do have sixth graders coming up. The other big benefit to the Amplified Desmos program that Chuck was just talking about is not just the fact that it's a great program. Their lessons are actually closer to this amount of time for a daily session.
Well, you're not waiting for every other day to see the kids again, so.
Right.
Well, no,
You
you're
stop a
gonna see
lesson and
every
keep
day.
going the next day, cause it's not.
But I know with the
Yeah.
60-minute schedule, it's, 20 minutes of instruction, 20 minutes do it yourself and 20 minutes, let's talk about it. 45 minutes and, 15, 15, 15, now you're jamming through.
You know,
And you may be losing some kids in the process, that's all.
yeah, and I'm not gonna say the trade-off, but it is hard for a seventh grader or even an eighth grader. I know I would probably have a hard time doing it when I was that age to sit in a classroom for 60 minutes and get the best you can out of it.
Well, hopefully it was not Sage on stage, it was
No,
guy on the
but-
side.
but yeah,
50 minutes
absolutely.
is just a long chunk of time, though,
Yeah.
that we had students, that was the feedback we were getting teachers year after year was. The 60 minutes is too long for middle school learning, specifically with their executive skills, especially because. That period is not every day 60 minutes, it's moving around, it's
Moving
D
around,
block here,
yeah.
it's start of the day this day, it's the end of the day here, it's not happening some days. The amount of kind of learning loss that happened with that inconsistency due to the executive skills of a middle schooler in general. The amount of time we start here teaching kids the schedule was significant. As opposed to having, next block, you know where you're going, so this should help with that. Ultimately, the one piece that's nice is the instructional minutes over the course of the year do go up. But not by a significant.
Not by a lot, but.
By
yeah,
by
it may go
180
up.
minutes, it's a little bit, but hopefully that in combination with, mostly it's gonna get the consistency helps on the impact. And we're really talking. Our lab-based courses that are gonna.
Well, that was another question, is the lab-based, and also like all school assemblies, where do you fit that in? Do you see where you've got some time to? Because once you start the schedule and it's very consistent every day, now it's an all-school assembly, somebody's gonna lose, whether it's a unified arts or it's library or it's
It's interesting
Yeah.
because
because that's always the challenge.
you're asking me coming from an elementary school for the last however many
And you
years,
know how
and
bad-
that's how we lived, you know what I mean? It was just, this is when our assemblies are. And did I try to sell that to this middle school staff? Absolutely, I'm not gonna lie, because there is some consistency there, right? But the other cool thing is, and this is what we talked about on the subcommittee, and Annie, thank you so much for that information.
Of course, yeah.
We talked about, when you look at our 2-hour delay days, those days are, that schedule's kind of wonky anyways. That's a really good opportunity to get some extra advisory time. That's a really good opportunity to do
Very good.
our assemblies, just built in that day, some team building stuff. So those, that's kind of the fun opportunity that we can kind of take and run with that too.
And we do have blocks built into the schedule that are back-to-back academics, so the teams will be able to work together and say, hey, you know what, next week I really do this lab. Can I steal 15 minutes of this period to extend mine? So we'll have the opportunity to work with that, given that our schedule, the consistency of the schedule. Set.
Anything's worth a try, because obviously the 60 minutes is long, so. Let's see what happens.
I think one of the benefits we have is the vast majority of our staff is excited about this. And it's kind of like this natural refresh. Like, oh, I get to look at what I've been doing, and I get to work with my colleagues and kind of put my best foot forward and yeah, step outside my comfort zone a little bit. See what works.
Yeah, try and see.
Yeah.
It's good to start at the year before too, get the 6th graders, they'll get a chance to.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to come into a point where this was the foundation, like I said, was built. It was there.
Anna and Liam, I not to put you guys on the spot, but you all were in middle school on a schedule, on a rotating schedule, not all that long ago. Any thoughts you wanted to share about what that experience was like for you? Or, what if you could imagine as a middle schooler moving to a schedule like this, where you have class every day?
Well, when I came back, it was the weird cohorts and
Pandemic,
A-day
yeah.
meetings.
It's like, where are we go? Yeah.
But I had this schedule we're currently on in 8th grade here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took some getting used to, but
Yeah.
it was all right.
And Laura, we're actually going to get some of our 8th graders' eyes on this.
Great.
Not,
That's a good idea.
obviously, they're not gonna be using this up next year, but we just kind of want to get some feedback on.
Well,
your
I
question
know a
this
few that
afternoon.
have opinions.
Yes. You know, how would this benefit you? What would you be worried about looking at this, coming into this?
That's a great idea.
So this isn't an action item, but what you will need to take action on is the MOU that we need to do this. So if you
Great.
oppose this, you can oppose the MOU. Otherwise, we're hoping your Mike can answer questions, get comfortable with the schedule. But then
Yeah.
we do need to approve the memorandum with the Teachers Association for us to have.
And we'll address that in executive session. Yeah, so good. Are there any other questions or thoughts or comments or concerns? Any other information anybody's looking for?
No, thank you.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on. The next item is non-renewals.
Yeah, this is never a fun.
Okay.
So we do know that we have cut a position. So we do have 2 positions here. You're gonna say, why are there 2 names if we've cut 1 position? The hard part is both these people were hired at the same time, right? So the contract does have a process that we have to go through in determining who that person is. And if they're hired at the same time, then we have to look to other things like evaluations and fit and that type of thing. I mean, there's a process we have to go through. But what my recommendation is gonna be is that we're gonna non-renew both of these individuals so that they're both aware of it, so that when the decision is made about if the decision is made about which one, then you know, that's when we would have the ability to make that determination. Of course, they have to be aware of this by May 1st. Now, I will tell them that the reason for the non-renewal is not a function of performance. It's a function of the budget conditions. And if the budget conditions change, you know, want to get this is the one position I want to get back very quickly, right? Then they'll also be told that we can revoke the non-renewal. We just have to legally notify folks by May 1st. It's very common in districts. I'm not sure if you've gotten pink slips in your first few years before tenure. Lots of people do this. It's never fun, but it's part of our legal obligations. So that's what we have there for Maggie and Amber. Those are the 2 K-6 teachers, and they both were hired at the exact same day. So and then of course, you know, Nicole Parisi is the BCBA position, and you know, if we're unable to fill that position, we'd still have the BCBA. But again, that might be a position that if we're able to bring it back because ECS changes, or we get tuition students, or the budget winds blow in our favor, we will make all of those decisions finally in the May-June timeframe. But law statute states that we have to notify folks by May 1. And the process involves you taking action to nominate these 3 contracts. I'll let them know. We'll talk to them in a way that please don't go get your resumes ready, although I don't blame you if you do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, there's hope here that we can keep very fine people.
Good questions for Charles about this process? No, all right, then we do need to be careful about this language, so if someone doesn't mind reading the motion as written.
Okay, I move that the contract of employment of Maggie Garcia and Amber Ostrander and Nicole Parisi not be renewed for the following year upon its expiration at the end of the 25-26 school year, and that the superintendent of schools is directed to advise such persons in writing at this action.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Seconded by Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Him? Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. I know, it's so unfortunate, and it's, you know, it is absolutely a reflection of where we're at in our budget process and how challenging this year, the budget for the coming year is. And I am very much hopeful that we'll be able to restore the K-6 position. But I'm also trying to be realistic about it and looking at where we're at with this managing $200,000 deficit. And even if all the things align for us, I'm just,
We'll hope.
well, we will hope.
Well, and just for clarity, even without the $200,000 deficit, these positions like need more than $200,000.
Yeah, correct. Not ideal. All right, the next item is first reading on 3 policies. So we'll take them one at a time. The first one is policy 5113.13, work study employment / work release. And just for context, this is a mandated policy we need to add that we do not currently have. So it is a new to us policy. And we did ask Chuck to do a little bit of digging and make sure that this was, and speak with Kate Lawson and make sure that this is something that we would be able to implement. And Kate says it is absolutely possible to implement. But this is pretty much the key model language. Did you want to give any other background, Meg or Charles?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Gives us the flexibility to give credit for work experience.
There's, it's who, so.
Questions on the policy? What's in it? No. All right, it is just a first read, so you can take another look at it. And if we do have any specific questions, if anyone has specific questions for Kate or Chuck, we can make sure that we get those answered. But yeah, that's one we'll revisit at our next meeting. All right, the next policy is 5112.01 kindergarten enrollment and early entry waiver. And you'll recall we spoke about this at our last meeting. So, and actually it's funny, it's mislabeled on here. 5112.01 was the recommended CAPE policy, and we decided the policy committee was recommending rather than adopting an entirely new policy to address a 1-year transition period, that we would refresh the policy we have using that required language, and then be able to remove it from our current policy in the future rather than adding policies and deleting them. So it is just 5112. So Chuck added this language in, it's in yellow, you can read through what the proposed language is, but it's really just looking to kind of clarify that it's just for the school year 2026 to 27 that parents can request a waiver. It's a continuation of what our policy has been the last several years, and then it will no longer be available beginning in the 2027-28 school year.
My only concern is when our second reading will be after May 1st, which is the cutoff.
So yes, and it's consistent with our current policy. We're not changing anything, but there was legislation passed in February that requires us to update it. So it's exactly what we've been doing over the last 2 years.
Correct. Yeah, our current policy will be our current practice.
And as the May 1st cutoff.
Yes, thanks. Yeah.
I know we talked about it last time, but what's our plan with the pre-K 3 kids? Who are, like, will they be impacted? They'll have to repeat pre-K?
They could, there may.
Some of them, right?
Some of them may, yes, but not next year, but the year after, they will have to be 5 in order to start kindergarten. That if they're not 5, then they might need another year of pre-K. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which may end up impacting the number of peer spots that we're able to offer or how many classrooms we need. So that is something that may have a financial consideration for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Especially those September students will be 3 full years.
Just a lot of paid for the kids too.
And that's.
Yes.
It catches up with their peers, and it evens out after a while, but the first, 3 or 4 or 5 years that this is implemented, it really impacts daycare issues, it impacts
Yeah,
kids
well,
who could be in kindergarten.
And
it's a huge
unfortunately,
cost for parents who are in daycare,
Oh, yeah.
who want to go to kindergarten early.
it's
But I
tricky
actually
to not
worried-
have any kind of, we
Yeah, there's no-
by law, we will have no
Option.
yeah, it is no longer, there is no longer leeway for school districts there. Beginning next year.
Yeah, maybe we can think of a plan for the kids who will be repeating pre-K, whose peers will have left. Like if it's two kids who now have to meet all new peers.
That's not what happened.
It happens, yeah. Is there any way to like boost those kids up as it happens?
Their birthday is what's gonna determine
Yeah.
whether they could be reading in pre-K. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Their birthday is September 2nd.
Oh, I know, yeah, I understand.
Good point. I hadn't thought of that social emotional.
It is,
program.
yeah.
Nobody's different.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Other questions about this language? Yes, and we'll look this again, at our next meeting. All right, and the third policy 9230, this is a bylaw around orientation of board members and, it looks like a lot of redlining because we ended up mostly pulling in, CABE model policy language. The impetus for this change came out of state legislation that now mandates that Board of Education members receive a certain amount of professional development within their first year of service on a board. And so the CABE put out a model policy that at the end of their policy kind of incorporated that language. This is primarily the CABE policy language, but the policy committee did feel like some of the language that was included in the policy was too specific about how orientation is offered. And so we pulled out some of the language in the policy that we felt just was not reflective of what the situation often in our district. There was language in here that was really specific about a certain amount of time that in which, you know, you had to offer orientation to members before they take office. And so often we're filling a vacancy midterm where the person is stepping in and there isn't necessarily an opportunity to offer training ahead of time. So we wanted to be careful not to put in language that was gonna put us in a situation where we couldn't follow our own policies. So what you see is a little bit of a Frankenstein between what CABE put out, what our original policy said, and does include that language that is from the new state mandate. Anything you want to add or anything
No,
you'd
that
like to
you
add?
got it perfect.
No, you covered it. We're good.
Two questions.
Yep.
On the back side, it says first time elected board members are to complete a training program. Are the bulleted points underneath part of the state mandated training?
Yes.
Okay, should that language be more pointed to say members must complete the training, or did we leave it sort of ambiguous for a reason?
That is from the CABE language, and I think it's a little bit reflective of the fact that it's a mandate without a consequence. That the state says you must complete a training, but the state is not empowered to remove anybody from office if they don't complete the training. So the things they lay out here is what the legislation says must be in that training. That's what those 3 bullets are. And the CABE policy says, you know, that it must be completed through the Connecticut Department of Education at the time at which they're offering it, which we know is kind of in partnership with CABE twice a year. So we kept that language as written because we felt that reflected the statute in all of its kind of vagueness.
It doesn't keep track of all of the activities of a board member to any webinar or any other event that they attend.
So that was my second question. Are these 3, does CABE have recordings of these 3 topics?
I don't think it's self teaching taught at this point. It's not like you can sit and go through like some of the corporations do. I think this is, you know, well, and it could be that one of our field people goes out and talks to a whole board about any of these 3 topics. That would also be covered in the obligation for professional development. So there's a number of ways to do it. But there is no professional development. Police is gonna come to your door and say, you didn't go to the, you know.
Understood.
You're not gonna get a letter. All
right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions? All right, that'll be on for a second, right? So if you do have additional questions, you can try and get answers. All right, the next three items, the middle school schedule memorandum of understanding, the transportation contract, and the ESS bid waiver will be discussed in executive session, so we will come back to those. Under old business, this is a second reading on policy 1312, public complaints, which we looked at maybe a month or so ago, and you all asked that the policy committee revisit this because the form, it wasn't clear how the form related to the policy. So we revisited this, and Chuck was kind enough to take a look and just made a very minor tweak to the form itself that makes it clear that the form is an instructional materials complaint form. Sentence he added says this form is only to be used for registering a complaint about instructional materials. For complaints about library materials, please refer to policy 6161.2. If your complaint is not about materials, please communicate it directly to your child's teacher or the individual closest to the origin of the complaint, which is what's reflected in the policy language. So we're bringing it back for a second read. And to get feedback from you all about if you're comfortable moving forward with the policy language as is.
More clear and.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sense.
we agreed, totally agreed. Yeah, we felt like that one sentence really cleared the whole thing up. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts about the policy?
So you need a motion?
Sure.
I move to approve policy 1312, public complaints as presented. Thank you for the updates.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. Seconded by Kim. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. We will move to committee reports. Curriculum. Any updates?
Like it when they do the presentation.
Yes, they did it. Whatever they said.
Thank you. They did great.
We meet tomorrow. And
We meet tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Policy.
Well, I was not at the meeting tonight, I was feeling like a checks on my dog.
We had a brief conversation in policy and are looking at the policies that were recommended from the last CAVE update, which most of which we don't think that this board will need to consider. There will be one on school safety that we'll look at our next policy meeting when Meg is there. And we'll likely be making a recommendation on that policy to come for the board in the future. But I don't think there's anything else pressing. Personnel. We did have a meeting back in March and just pull up my reminders for myself that we the big thing, we did talk about the MOU, which we'll be discussing in executive session. But the main thing we talked about was an adjustment around the calendar adjustments that have happened with the snow days and sewage related closures, that there's an extra day or day and a half of time that Charles is working in collaboration with the teachers to identify how our teachers can utilize that time between now and the end of the calendar year. Or sorry, the school year, the fiscal year, to now the end of June, to reclaim some of that time and use it towards curriculum work or other work that needs to happen that our budget won't allow us to do over the summer. Should I summarize that?
Yeah,
Do you
so
wanna
just
add?
to prevent.
No, I don't
contract, teachers
understand.
work
Sorry.
100
Yeah.
Yeah, teachers work 187 days.
Yeah.
Right. We chopped off the PD day, made it a school day.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
and now teachers are working 186.
Mhm.
And the secondary teachers, had a sewage day.
Yeah.
So they're working 185.
Five, okay.
So
There's less.
the secondary teachers owe me
Mhm.
2 days. And the elementary teachers owe me 1 day. They owe you.
Yeah.
Probably. So I'm going to reclaim that time with some curriculum writing endeavors for them in June.
Perfect.
In a way
So-
that is both flexible and understanding of the fact that it is after the school
Middle
year,
school
and
helps
we
the
want
school year.
folks to be able to utilize their time in the best way possible.
And it works perfectly because, as you know, as part of our budget process, we cut summer curriculum right time. So now we have these 2 days to get summer curriculum
Get it back.
out of everybody. So it's
And with
gonna
the
work.
NEASC accreditation coming up at the high school, it gives high school, secondary staff members time to update curriculum in the curriculum platform. And so hopefully that's beneficial that work can happen. And teachers understand that they can do it in a way that is flexible and.
And
At the
the
beach.
the association shared their ideas. They think they're brilliant and fair, and we're gonna have both a productive time, but not in a way that is burdensome, overly burdensome.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, thank
We're
you.
go- But we're gonna capitalize on the labor. We need,
Yeah.
There was some more section.
we're gonna provide those too. We're gonna provide some requirements for some, be well, it's summer. Mind your mental health.
Yeah.
And I'll share more details about that as we develop, but I did want to share that with the personnel committee, get the blessing on that. Now we're gonna structure it, and then it'll come back to another talk parts exactly what it is we're asking and how we're structured.
Great.
I think you're right, it's good, it's a clever idea.
Sounds good. So that was the main thing we discussed. And then we'll be dealing with MOU and contract stuff tonight and at our next meeting as well. Buildings and grounds.
There's been no meeting. I don't think we have anything scheduled right now.
Is there a second boiler update?
It's going, it's coming in right now.
Okay.
The second one is, the first one is working, second one is coming out, we don't need them now. It's warmed up, but there were one valve or something was the wrong part, so they had to get a new part, but it's going on. Coming on.
It was a tennis court.
Tennis court, the repairs, I saw them out there today, as a matter of fact, measuring it up, gonna be done there.
That's what Anna's done. Have you played? No, you can't play. Yeah.
We've played on them before they started getting fixed. We had 4 courts that was getting used, 3 actually, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm grateful.
We'll have more for you soon.
That's awesome.
One of those pickleball.
All right, liaisons, Craig.
Craig is going to meet in 2 weeks. They are sponsoring a school safety seminar with Vertec, and I've sent it out to several people. I think it's April 27th. It's all day long. There's a number of workshops if anybody's interested. Board members could go as well as school. I don't think anybody took advantage last year. It comes at an odd time. But especially fixing it now. I did ask about the transition students, if they were from open choice and they are going to go transition, our transition program, they would still be open choice, and they would still be if they would stay in our district as open choice students in the transition district. I don't know how that fixes your numbers. And I don't know what the funding would be, but they are our children. It's about that. We're in the middle of budget season.
Board of Selectmen.
Just a resolution was discussed about the school, and they set the public hearing for a week from tomorrow at 6:30 at the flood library, or flood room at the library.
April 15th.
And that's say it again, what time? Oh, I
The
have-
15th at 6:30, I believe it's 6:30 is the public hearing. We actually vote to, no.
So that's just the public hearing, and I believe that's
Oh, then
the
there's a
evening
vote.
when the Board of Selectmen votes to send it to a town meeting.
They vote
So the
for it.
Board of Selectmen will take action. That does begin the official silent period. And I believe that the town meeting is gonna be scheduled for Monday, April 27th, but we'll just pay attention and wait for that date officially. Oh, John Dillon might have an update.
Mike Felton sent something to the Board of Selectmen this afternoon. It is Monday, May 27th at 7 p.m. And based upon last evening's conversations, it will be at the Portland Middle School auditorium.
April 27th
Yeah, 7 p.m.
at 7 p.m.
And what is this? Sorry, this is the vote?
N-
No.
Town meeting.
It's
Town.
so it's fun. It's just part of the process.
It's a town meeting.
There's a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first phase is a public hearing where the public can offer comment.
Uh-huh.
And the board, and that's the point, after hearing the public comment, the Board of Selectmen take action to send it to a town meeting. The town meeting happens and the town meeting is adjourned to the referendum date. So no action is actually taken at the town meeting.
Yeah, that's where I get confused. If they're spending money, then it's a vote, but they're not spending any money. They're just authorizing the referendum.
Okay. Right. Right. So hopefully that's clear, and hopefully there'll be more information coming out about that timeline from the first select hearings.
Where select votes.
But if you can attend the public hearing on the 15th, I think that would be good. All right. Anything else, Dave?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Youth Services Advisory.
We canceled our meeting. We're meeting in May, and Mike has 4 applicants to fill the position and feels hopefully there's someone good in that pile.
All right. And Portland Public Schools Climate Coalition.
We met today, and at the beginning, the coalition members narrowed down a graphic to visualize or visually display the civil discourse framework. So we may not be meeting in June, which would be our next meeting every other month, but we will vote along that time period on a final graphic. And then Chuck says that there would be a presentation to the Board of Ed in the fall, maybe September timeframe of the civil discourse. And the graphic is in line with like our vision of the graduate, just kind of keeping a similar brand. And the state has required school improvement plans that you may recall that we submit those to the state in December. And then every other year, there's a requirement to complete surveys of key stakeholders for the school district. So there was also some discussion in today's meeting around what surveys to send out, what questions. We have questions that Chuck aligned with the state standards that have been set. So we're just going to narrow that down. We don't have to survey this year because we did last year, so we may hold off, or this district may hold off for a year and just take some time to really refine those questions. There was also some discussion around the timeline against which we'd send out those surveys, because in the past they've gone out towards the end of the school year and not had the greatest response rate because they come amidst so many other things that time of year.
Very true.
And then we undertook a discussion around what programming to offer in schools on Juneteenth, and walked away with looking at what other districts are doing, as well as taking it back to the school committees to formulate what their plans are going to be specific to the schools. And there was a conversation towards the end of equity versus equality. There is probably going to be more training coming out next year, or conversation around the difference between equity and equality and what those terms actually mean, and ensuring that staff are all on the same page there. So when the terminology is used, there's kind of a common understanding. So those were the things that the coalition undertook in its meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions on any of that? Wellness Committee.
We have not met since they meet next week, 22nd.
Right, sorry, next week.
2 weeks. Yeah. So I will tell you more then.
Awesome, thank you. Audience of citizens. Did you want?
I actually do.
Please come. We're happy to have you.
Audience of citizens.
For the record, John Dillon, liaison to this board.
Thank you.
I have been attending, as well as some of you, for the number of meetings that superintendent has been putting on presentations to the school project. In addition to what we just talked about, one of the comments, I believe, last evening or the evening before, they all kind of were. Somebody said that the website, the town website, hasn't been updated. It was updated today.
Great.
And it looks very good. When you go into the home screen of the town's website, brings you right to it. And when you click on it, it goes to a nicely laid out group of information
About the consolidation.
about the consolidation and all the recordings of all the different meetings, the Q&As, everything are there. And the only other thing I would say, I'm sure you all know this, but maybe some more than others. I think that, I very much believe in the plan. I think a lot of hard work has gone on, and I think this plan makes sense for a lot of reasons, including now with the additional state funding. But we're voting on the town budget and the school project on the same day at the same location. The budget doesn't need, you can have 20 people. But based upon the town charter for the school plan, we need 20% of registered voters. So, I mean, I believe the Board of Selectmen is working hard to try to get that message out. I just want to make sure we're all working in tandem to do that. Word of mouth sometimes is the best thing. And I think now that we have a website that kind of has all the data there, I think we can start driving people to it. And I'm sure you've also aware that there's a mailer going out and an insert delivery soon. So I think all of that is going to start to drive conversation. But I think the biggest thing for all of us is to make sure that we have enough people there. We fall to 19%. All this work is for.
What is 20% of registered?
It's about 1,400.
A little over 1,400, I think, 1,450-ish.
Yeah, it's a section of the charter that says for special elections, which this will be, you need 20% of registered voters.
Thank you, John.
That was me.
And thanks for coming and being with us all the time.
Yeah.
Is there anyone online who wishes to comment? There's no one online. All right. All right. Board of Education member comments. Why don't we start on this end? Anna, did you have anything?
I was really excited to hear about the Hive Council. When I was in Gildersleeve, I think we had, it was like the Queen and King Bee, which was, it's nice to see that they have another way to participate in student government, because I think that once that'll definitely carry through biz and eventually when they come up to the high school and they're in the Senate and they do things like this. So I think it's a good way to start early.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, great to see the Hive Council. It's great that we're pushing leadership at such a young age. Great skill to develop. And then additionally, the Rockpole Foundation. That is an incredible project with community involvement, and we should strive to do more projects like it.
Great.
And then thankfully, much needed rest next week.
So thank you to you both for being back tonight. Nice to have the update from you guys. And a thank you to all of the teachers who wrote grants. I know that's no easy task on top of everything else that they're doing, so. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Love the presentations tonight, especially the real world application. When it's, why are we learning this? Well, okay, we can use that learning.
Yeah, agreed. I think the work that went into grants and also the Rockville Foundation presentations. It's really part of our environment. I think we have part of our sustainable Portland and a couple of years ago was to have the native plants and bees and all of the pollinator information, and hopefully that's also front and center benefit. So I think that's good. Other than that, Kate is headed to San Antonio. We have a Connecticut based Board of Ed member, Leonard Lockhart from Windsor, who is going to be the president of NSBA going forward, which is very exciting. He's a fireman. He's the past president of the state, and he is Windsor and truly deserves the leadership opportunity that is going to be afforded him. He will be flying around the country to various school boards and doing working magic with them. It's an exciting opportunity. So there's a lot of us going down to celebrate that and look forward to more from Kate. Trying to reach out to after this legislative session with 37 bills on day one and all of the nonsense that we've had to listen to, and I don't know what to end up with. To maybe 8th when they close. It's been a firestorm, and it's a lot of stuff that's not going to help us. It's going to put more work to teachers and superintendents. Quite frankly. Assessing for 3 times a year, kindergartners and third graders to see if they can read is just the dumbest thing. It is. But, you know, if somebody wants it, so that's, you know, that's going forward. So anyway, we're working very hard to get more boards active, and not everybody has an interest in, you know, what's going on in the legislature, but to align with the CAPS, which is a counterbalance, to make sure that we're all asking and we're actually being heard, because that's really what. And next year, if they have 37 bills on a short session, then you can only imagine what they're cooking up for the long session next year. And it wasn't just the education committee, it was also judiciary, and it was also transportation that got involved in trying to recommend electric buses for all of us, which is not exciting. So, yeah. That's it.
About that shortly.
Yes, you will. Yeah, we did.
Erin?
Well, I loved hearing, I hadn't seen the news thing about the 6th grader. I knew the 6th graders went up to the rally or the, but I thought that was great. The grants are awesome. The rockfall work is great. And I just really want to thank the teachers and the staff and everybody that put their thoughts in the changes in preparing for the middle school, you know, the 6th graders to come up. What's the student experience like? Hearing that the students are gonna give input into that, like just the changes of the middle school schedule. I know a lot of work went into that.
I'm going to use my time for the school consolidation plan. 3 things. First of all, I was really excited to see the signs as I drove in.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
As many of us know, several years ago, a budget didn't pass, but then when the parents came together, they really put us over the edge, which I think is going to help us this time. Second thing is neighbors, you know, you won't realize how many people don't read the referees or aren't on Facebook. So I've already made it my goal to talk to all my neighbors. And lastly, I picked up 4 absentee ballots yesterday. So don't forget that, because my daughter who's away to college, my mother-in-law who's disabled, and me and my wife are gonna be on vacation that day. So I picked up 2 for us. So we're gonna have 4 votes because of absentee ballots. And I was only the number 6 person
We need to make a
to get an
post.
absentee ballot vote. So they're available. So
It's good to know.
That is
Thank
great
you.
to know. I didn't realize, I
Yeah.
was just about to say they're available right now.
well, you got to put an application in to get the ballot.
Yeah.
The applications are available. Sorry.
Yeah, great.
Make sure I'm
Just
clear.
the PSA, what's the whole process be?
What do? You
Get
go.
an application
Yes,
at town hall.
you fill out an application.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you go to town, you can go to town hall, you ask for the application has to be returned, and
Correct.
then they will mail.
And
it
they will
to you.
mail you. You could go in and pick it up if you want. There are various options for receiving that. There's actually some, if you're out of some conditions, military, whatever, you can actually get an email.
Oh, wow.
But they do have various options for receiving them and for returning them, which is good.
We get some information on that. I'll put
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
Really.
That's
Mhm.
that's good insight.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yep.
I echo what everyone said. Thank you, John, for mentioning the website. I took a look. It looks really good. It's very, very user friendly and explanatory. I do wonder if for folks who haven't been tracking with the conversation, seeing language that's simply decommissioned Brownstone Intermediate School may raise more questions than it answers. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the conversation after this. If there could be additional language around, like, that means it's decommissioning as a school, but repurposing it for other uses, something like that, just so that it clarifies for people that we're not getting rid of this wonderful building that's at the center of our town. And I echo what everybody else said about all the other things that we saw tonight.
Sarah? Okay. Yes to all of that. And the only other thing I wanted to mention that I've shared with Charles, shared with Mike Pelton, and I want to share it with you all too, and I will send you the recording. I attended a webinar that CCM put on last week. about something called energy savings performance contracts. And I had never heard of these, and I'm shocked that this is not something that everybody's talking about, because it's a process, state sanctioned process, by which town buildings and school buildings can be upgraded and paid for over time through the savings that are generated by these energy improvements. So there were different people on the call, but Cheshire, several town representatives from Cheshire were on there because talking about sort of their case study doing this, going through this experience in which they had their audit conducted of all their town and school buildings, identified over $10 million in projects,
Right.
energy saving projects, roofs, boilers, windows, lighting, anything that could potentially have an impact on energy savings. And you enter into a contract, an agreement with a company that guarantees, they do your audit and they identify what your annual savings should be. And they guarantee that number. So then they look out over 15 to 20 years, how much can you anticipate saving? That's what you can put into making these projects, into funding these projects, and then you pay for them over time as a savings, so that it doesn't impact your taxes, it doesn't impact your what you're having to set aside for capital improvements. You don't have to bond for it. And I was completely unaware that that existed, as was Charles. I don't think Mike's heard of it. So I just want to put it on our radar that as we're talking about what happens at BIS and how we pay for necessary upgrades in the future at BIS, it seems like this is something that is at the high school and at the library and at the police station and at all of at our town hall, at, what's kind of cool about this is it's not uniquely tied to school buildings. It really is looking at your town's, every building that's town and school owned, and identifying how you can make improvements that impact your energy savings.
When we did the LED lighting on the outside of the building down view, and I think we did it up here. I think it might be a modification of that upgrading to energy savings, but it was not tied to paying over time. It's
It's a similar idea, but this is kind of a unique program. And the webinar was really fascinating, and I would love to send it, if anyone's interested. I could send it to Buildings and Grounds Committee, but if anyone is interested and wants to see it, I'm happy to send it to everybody. An hour long, really kind of big picture overview program. But I think it's worth keeping in our heads as we think about how we make recommendations about improvements at BIS moving forward and the rest of our town facilities.
I have a question though, do we have an alternate energy committee? Because we started it at the Board of Ed, and then we moved it to a town committee with students on it, right? And
That was a Board of Ed task force years ago that was specifically tied to solar at BIS that had
started as a green energy.
So that Board of Ed task force was disbanded.
Yeah, but I thought it became a town. I could be wrong. I thought it was a town committee.
I don't think so. There is a town committee that's separate, that Andy Bauer chairs, the Clean Energy Task
I thought we
Force.
joined it. Okay, anyway, all right.
Separate.
I mean, yeah.
I think that this is kind of exciting and worth learning more about. So I'd love to share that recording with you all. So I will make a note to do that. All right, we have several items in our executive session for tonight. So I'm going to ask for a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of the middle school schedule MOU, the transportation contract, and the ESS bid waiver, and to invite Dr. Britton to join us.
So moved.
Thank you, Beck. Is there a second? Oh, okay, so Kim, and any further discussion? All in favor?
Can you put the chairs back for us?
Yeah.
Almost.
I totally,
I just don't
know how long.